Good day to you, viewers. This topic is going to be a hard one to talk about because of not only the lives lost in two particular accidents that I'm going to be discussing about, but also the outcomes that came from them. So be advised that, first and foremost, I will be talking about uh, the accidents and the drivers involved, along with my own personal thoughts of opinions of their situations, along with the outcomes that have come after. My second one is that the illegal outcomes that happened before the accidents occurred, and the steps taking place to rectify the matter. And lastly, my third topic for this video is the hateful discrimination and what is taking course from it, and the steps necessarily to minimalize um, any discrimination that law enforcement may follow. Now, please be advised, I do know a lot of different types of law enforcement, and a lot of the ones I do know, they're good people. But at the same time, that doesn't mean there aren't good people in the law enforcement industry. It's best to know which ones are which. You know, take it as a grain of salt, but be try to get to know your local law enforcement agencies, because they especially when you're friendly to them, they're gonna be the ones that a they are going to be the ones you want to talk to the most, and B, which ones to stay away from or to be more vigilant on if you get pulled over. So, onward to this topic. So let's discuss the matter that happened, which caught a lot of big news in the trucking industry, which occurred on the Florida Turnpike. Now, for those people who are unaware, the driver's name was Harjinder Singh, and he took it upon himself to try to do an illegal U-turn on the freeway, which caused the loss of life of 3 people and vehicle damages. Now, that being said, we are now going into some of Singh's background development on him, on his story while in the U.S. Just before he got into his accident. Singh was a 28-year-old Indian national. Was issued a commercial driver's license, or CDL, first in Washington state, and when he eventually moved down to California, he established a California CDL, despite failing an English proficiency test, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation. So, that being said, that being the start of this person's career path into the CDL profession, how is he still able to get a CDL in 2 different states? Did he pay off someone or a group of someone's? Did he have a button cam and an earwig to be able to cheat on the driving tests? Who can say at this point? But it shouldn't have happened in the first place. A few weeks before the Florida highway incident occurred, though, Harjinder Singh was pulled over in New Mexico for speeding. While the officer was giving him the standard questionnaire for any CDL driver that has to answer to, Mr. Singh was only able to answer 2 of them that the officer gave him. He was issued a speeding ticket and then was let go. Now, moving forward again, um, from this particular incident that happened in New Mexico, it begs a question that if he was only able to answer two of the standardized questionnaires that a CDL driver should answer law enforcement, why was he just let go? So, on this particular note, I find two faults on this one. One is because Harjinder Singh is an illegal driver that shouldn't have one, period, because he cannot really understand road signs or answer questions in English. Though that is a standard curriculum of being a CDL driver. You need to understand, read, and speak English. And Mr. Singh can barely do those. The number two part is that the officer who gave him the standard questionnaire just let him go. That should be some red flags on that particular officer. And I think he should be questioned on his matters of his engagement with Mr. Singh. And should probably take steps necessary to rectify that matter. That way it never happens again. But I digress. I am not New Mexico's law enforcement agency, but I do think some common sense should be put in place of that particular officer. So now that we're moving forward again to the day of the Florida incident occurred on the Florida Turnpike. Mr. Singh performed an illegal U-turn, which resulted the death of 3 people, which at this time, from the state of Florida, could be up to... Oh, sorry. Which the state is working on 3 counts of vehicular manslaughter or suicide, homicide, which each count from the state of Florida could end up to 15 years per death and or a $10,000 fine. There has been a petition going around, though, about the U.S. for Mr. Singh requesting clemency. For those who do not understand what that means, clemency is an act of executive leniency or mercy that grants relief from some or all of the consequences of a criminal conviction. It can take the form of a pardon, sentence reduction, or reprieve, along with those claiming that it was a traffic accident and not a crime. I have major problems with this. And I'm going to get a little bit deeper moving forward, but this particular part I have a major issue with, and I'm going to understand why. Now that we have the facts of Mr. Singh's timeline here, there are possible outcomes of his case. That 1, he will be given clemency, then afterwards deported back to India, or 2, he will be have to serve a sentence, and then after his sentence is fulfilled, deported back to India. These 2 options are the most likely outcome of his case, but the overall conclusion is that Mr. Singh will be deported back to India. Now, my thoughts on the clemency matter is that I would think that any competent judge would take that petition and shred it, because the overall matter of the bare bone facts is that this particular individual took the lives of three uh, people, accident or not. And for that alone, a price needs to be paid. Overall, that is for, but overall, that is for a judge and jury to decide, not me. But those are my thoughts and opinions. Um, the next truck accident that occurred that actually did not get a whole lot of news broadcast, though, but it did happen, was on the U.S. Route 95 in Nevada. An African native individual named Claude Rafiki took the lives of three motorists. When arrested, officials found that Rafiki, an African immigrant who became um, a U.S. citizen back in 21, originally faced DUI charges, which prosecutors later dropped as test results did not show alcohol or drugs in his system. As part of a plea agreement, though, prosecutors argued for Clark County District Court Judge Joe Hardy to sentence Rafiki to 4 to 10 years in prison, the maximum amount agreed to the deal. The victims' families were part of the negotiations. Prosecutor Yu Ming said during sentencing a few weeks ago. So, what does this mean as the backlash of these two incidences? Well, first thing that happened is that the Trump administration, based on recent reports from August 2025, the Trump administration has temporarily halted the assurance of work visas for commercial truck drivers, or CDL drivers. The move follows a fatal crash in Florida and is part of a border crackdown on foreign truckers. Number two, federal law enforcement are looking into individuals cheating the tests at the DMVs or DMV selling to illegal individuals who can't pass the test. Just a few weeks ago, after the Florida Turnpike incident, there was a federal investigation in Jacksonville, which resulted the apprehension of 5 illegal immigrants trying to take a CDL test. They were caught with body cams and earwigs, but Jackson Police Department or Jackson Federal Police Department are looking for more of the ringleaders than the minor individuals at this point in time, and they are communicating with other law enforcement agencies to try to find the ringleaders of this situation. So the third thing that happened is that the company that Hardin is seeing worked for, White Hawk Carriers Incorporated, decided to take an L and signed away the removal of their business licenses. Now, some people may wonder why, but I will give you this answer. Upon an investigation on the companies, though, during a courtesy look into White Hawk's ownership, Prax said he found the company's Secretary of State filings with California listed someone named Navneet Har as the company's owner. That name and signature also appeared on the Secretary of State filings for another trucking firm, White Star Trucking Incorporated, which has since gone out of business. Whitehawk did not disclose its affiliation with other trucking companies, according to Prax. and as such could be liable of perjury and eligible of a $10,000 fine. As FMCSA states in the paperwork during the authority application process, but FMCSA has told Overdrive in past it doesn't actually issue fines of perjury or any other administrative fines, even as Chamberlain carriers or chameleon carriers obtain hundreds of MC numbers with phony addresses. After Whitehawk had multiple HOS violations in the last year, and a driver OOS rate doubled the national average, had a driver killed 3 people with a reckless attempt at an illegal U-turn on a Florida turnpike, why not take them down as a imminent hazard? So, looking into this company, putting it in its simplest form, the reason why they just signed away their business because they did not want the investigation. Which, doing those types of investigation takes a lot of time, a lot of manpower, and so they basically said, you know what, we don't need this. We'll just remove our license and move on our merry way, because if you did, you will probably find a lot more worse stuff. So they'll just take the L and move on before the actual investigation occurred. So keep that one in mind. When it comes to working for trucking companies, doesn't matter if it's local, regional, or long haul companies, it's best to do your homework. Do your due diligence. But now we're going to kind of move on to highway patrol and sheriff departments are pulling over and inspecting drivers more often than normal because of the increased crackdown on illegal operators, and B, reassurance that commercial drivers are safe and understand the rules of the road and signs. And just recently, apparently, I think it was in Oklahoma, they arrested 120 truck drivers because they were illegal drivers. So keep that one in mind. I'm not going to go into my thoughts and opinions on this one. Just all I can say is wow. Some people may say that this could be considered discrimination or ethnic profiling. And I won't deny that there isn't any realm of possibility to that. But at the same time, there are those who continue to obtain licenses illegally. You brought this upon yourselves. The pendulum effect is swinging the other way now, and because of incompetent individuals who are doing illegal activities in order to obtain CDLs, they are the ones that law enforcement are coming after. Basic outline. You do stupid stuff, bad stuff is going to happen to you. So if you are, unfortunately, if you are an illegal alien in the U.S. and you cheat your way to get a CDL, yes, I truly think you should be caught. You're not only putting yourself at risk, you're putting those out on the road at risk because of you. And I truly think that needs to be, taken care of. But moving on to another part of this subject, just about a week ago, Sean Duffy, the United States Secretary of Transportation, just made a press release announcing new rules for domiciled CDL license assure, uh, issues, and announced that California was out of compliance while issuing them, along with working. Uh, Sean Duffy is also working on rectifying such matters within his department and within his authority. For more detailed understanding about the steps he's going to be taking, I would recommend to check out YouTube, Forbes Breaking News channel. Now, after all this information has just been dropped onto this subject, I have some fellow workmen um, from different companies that have asked me uh, on if they do get pulled over by law enforcement, what is the best way to minimize the possible uh, damages. Now, note that these fellow drivers that I personally know are legit, and that is all you need to know about them. But that being said, I am going to give some hints that I gave them on trying to move the process along as mutual ground as possible and with um, minimal backlash because of this situation. So the first things first is that if you get pulled over by law enforcement, the first thing it is more likely you're going to get pulled over by highway patrol or the sheriff department more than local law enforcement. So keep this in mind. Now, if you get pulled over, the first thing that you need to do is contact your boss or employer and let them know that you have been pulled over by law enforcement and give them your location. The second thing is that you need to state uh, if the law states permits it that recordings are interactive. That way, there is equal ground. So basically, if the law permits you to record, whip out your personal phone and start recording the interaction, but let the officer know that you are recording them. Like, they're gonna greet, and they're gonna greet you, ask for your information, but do let them know, like, officer, I have my phone recording this this interaction for for transparency and discrepancy issues that may or may not occur. You want to keep it as mutual ground as possible. Let them do your job, or let them do their job, but recording can be both ways, because there are some officers out there that will not turn on their body cams, and you don't know what happens then if they do. So if the state permits it, record them as well, but also let them know. But during your interaction with the law enforcement officer, if any of them at any time they tell you that you cannot be recording them, you politely, and I really want to emphasize this, you don't get angry. You politely ask them to find the state code that dedicates that officers cannot be recorded during a stop. You're not going to get angry. Do not get in their face, but you ask them, sir, if I cannot record you, please find me that code that states that for this state, county, or city. plain and simple. If they refuse to show the code that dedicates that, then they ask you to comply with their demands, you can request a supervisor to be present during this interaction and wait for them to show. Now, past this, give the officer your information and politely ask why, while being recorded, the reason for being pulled over, along with requesting for them to be loud and clear with their name and badge number. Afterwards, comply with their questioning and let them conduct their investigation while they are being recorded, because law enforcement have a right and a duty, depending on the officer, to conduct a level 1 or up to a level 3 CDL investigation. After all is said and done, though, if you did do something wrong, don't argue with the officer. Be calm and stable while asking your questions. And if you know you did something wrong, take your ticket and either challenge it in court or pay the fine. You don't need to get angry with them, because if you do, it looks worse on you. Plain and simple. And at that point, the officer could arrest you for being defiant, getting in their face. You're basically causing a scene and making him feel uncomfortable. So, because as soon as you turn it into an argument, or like I said, as soon as you turn it into an argument with law enforcement, you can find yourself in a cell and your truck towed. But if likely, they will let you contact your employer to retrieve your vehicle. But, the officer in question would have to be lenient about that. If you are being arrested, it's like, hey, I am going to arrest you for such and such clause. You can ask them, it's like, okay, officer, if you work for a company, it's like, officer, can I please contact my employer? Let them know, like, hey, I am being detained. I am being arrested. Can you please come get the vehicle and move it? That way we do not have to pay a tow fine. You can ask that. If you are calm and collective and the officer is lenient with you, they may let you do that. But, you take your chances. It's also depending on the officer. The overall conclusion of these guides, though, is not is not to physically or verbally fight with officers, but it's also to keep a record of the interactions that you have with officers, because if someone or something is obscured, you can bring it up to the department or to the police department or the officer department and or the court office about the obscurity. I hope this information has been insightful, informative, even though, yes, I have talked about my own personal thoughts on this matter. They may seem rather harsh at times, but I really want to stay as most to the facts and information I give out as possible, to try to keep things moving forward because of these outcomes. Because this part does not just hurt the drivers that are driving around the freeways or local towns who are legit or legal. or I should say, illegal or illegal immigrant. But it also hurts the drivers out there as well because of forms of discrimination that can occur. Now, is it going to happen all the time? I can't say for sure. Like I said, there are good officers out there along with bad ones. It's best that you try to note them all. That way, when you do get pulled over by an officer for whatever reason may happen, you have a general idea of what that officer's mentality is going to be like with your interaction with them. So, if you have any comments or concerns or questions, drop me a line about this subject. I know it's a long one. I will do the best with what I can to inform others about this particular subject. I hope you all stay safe, though. I hope that you know you're not causing too much chaos to where you get yourselves in trouble. As right now, things are rough. Doesn't matter where you are, but for those people that are in this industry, it just got a lot harder for us. And for those everyday drivers that like cutting us off, getting into our blind spots, or whatever the case may be, you really do need to see that our days just got harder, our days got longer, and our our tensions have just gotten that much deeper. So for the everyday driver, you know, I understand you could be in a rush, but you know, at the same time, this stuff does happen because of not just the truck driver's incompetence, but also yours. You do need to realize that, truck drivers do not stop on a dime. So, that being said, uh, again, you take care, folks, you stay safe, and have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.